Okay, so welcome everybody to the Be the Sniper or Be the Target webinar series. My name is John Skelton with Apex Investing. Appreciate you guys joining us. As always, got to knock out our disclosures here. Trading involves risk. Make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. And just a couple things here. Again, glad to be back. Appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers there. Who was on the webinar we did this morning? We did a webinar about 11 a.m. this morning. Had a guest speaker, Amar from TickStrike. If you missed that webinar, I assure you, you're going to want to check it out. Crazy good webinar. It's a tool that Daryl and I have both used for years, and we used and then we didn't use, and then we were figuring out ways to use it. But with some of the new upgrades they've made, watch the webinar. It was good stuff. And I've got to say, Amar, is he not awesome on a webinar? Was that guy not totally cool? And just awesome guy, answered every question, really went through and explained everything. I mean, he's just a cool guy. But for those of you that missed it, definitely check it out. You can hop on over to the Apex website. A couple different places you can find it. I mean, first of all, what you want to do, if you're interested in it, go to tickstrike.com/apex, and you can check it out there. But if you hit the bootcamp page, go to the bootcamp page, and if this will load, I'm on a other computer here. If you scroll down here, I think Daryl added it way down here under somewhere down here, right there, TickStrike. Okay, so it's under, let's see here, J, TickStrike reading, and then you've got it under webinars here. So you can check it out. Check out the webinar there. I think it was posted on YouTube, Facebook as well. You don't want to miss this. All you got to do is ask about it in the room, in Skype rooms. Anyone that was on it will tell you it is awesome. You've got to check it out. Somebody, Bert, you were asking about training. There's going to be some training that Amar puts on the TickStrike website. We'll be doing some training as well. A lot of that training will be just live. I mean, there's no ABC 1, 2, 3. Here's the only way to use it. It can be used in so many different things, okay, in so many different ways. I think a lot of that training, we'll get some recordings up and some basic training on it. A lot of that's going to be done in the room live, just for Daryl, saying, all right, hey, TickStrike's going off. Here's what it's doing. Look what the market's doing. Look how that lines up with the simplicity trade or this pullback, divergence trades. Or like, hey, we're in the simplicity trade. TickStrike's been going crazy. Notice how everything's died off. It's really slim. This is the time to tighten up. I think a lot of it's going to be, kind of day-to-day type training as well. Because there's so many different ways to use it. But yes, we will definitely do that. So make sure to check that out. It was great stuff. So also here in a couple of weeks, we've got Labor Day coming up. We will be getting out some Labor Day specials. A few of you have asked, hey, is there going to be a special soon about some lifetimes or markers plus, all that? Yeah, here in about 2 weeks we will. So also we, had a lot of new members come in recently due to some marketing we did. So we've got a lot of new people in boot camp. So I want to welcome you guys that are new. Glad you're joining us here. Glad you're involved. And this webinar is going to be a little bit more geared towards newbies, not necessarily for veterans or something new and next level, although reviewing some of the basics is very good, even for veterans that have been around a long time. And so we're going to be reviewing some of that tonight here. And something I've wanted to address, and I know we have some training videos on this. I know I've done webinars on this before, but especially with a lot of the new people that have come in, we've seen, Daryl and I have both seen it, a lot of confusion regarding divergence and hidden divergence. Okay, how many of you on this webinar here are new, or you're in boot camp, or you still feel like sometimes you struggle with divergence and hidden divergence? Anybody here still feel like, yeah, I don't fully have that down. I do have some questions on that, or sometimes I get confused which one is which, or maybe I don't fully understand the why behind it. Okay, And that's more what I wanted to address tonight, because I've seen a lot, even just in the last few weeks, webinars, as Daryl will do, some of the chart walkthroughs. Some people are saying, oh, divergence. Well, no, that's not divergence just because there's a lower DR number. Oh, okay. So we wanted to address that tonight, okay? And a little refresher for some of you that are veterans, but for those of you that are newer, I want to help it make sense in your head and help you understand the why. We're going to focus a little more tonight on just standard divergence. Next week we might dive into hidden divergence. Okay, so just real quick, standard divergence. Okay, if you get these two things straight, if you understand these two things, it'll help you a lot. Divergence shows you a potential end or a potential weakness in a trend. Okay, divergence shows you a potential weakness of the trend. Hidden divergence shows you a possible continuation of a trend. And that's the first thing you got to get in your head is the word trend. Okay. Secondly, you have to understand one is showing you a potential end and weakness. One is showing you a potential continuation. Okay. So tonight we're going to focus on standard divergence. So let's keep it that simple. Understand the difference between the two. One is a potential weakness, one's a continuation. But the first thing you have to have is a trend. Divergence doesn't matter. It's not something to look for. The number on the DR, the deviation reversal indicator, the OP, what am I trying to say? The OD, the oscillation detector. Still got COVID brain here, right? The numbers on there do not matter when we're looking at, they don't matter for divergence in a choppy market or a ranging market. It's got to be a clear trend. So that's the first thing you have to understand before you start even looking at divergence or hidden divergence. It's got to be a clear up or down movement, a clear trend. So I want to start with wrapping your head around the concept. We'll look at one quick chart, but then we won't really dig into the chart part until the end, because if you get the concept, you'll understand it a lot more. And I kind of used some of these examples a while back when I did a webinar, for our Thrive members about a JFT trade. We're not going to talk about the JFT trade tonight, but I want you to have some images and analogies in your head and understand this concept of divergence. And then when we look at the chart, I think it's going to be 10 times easier for you to get it. Okay? So let's start with that a little bit. Divergence itself, I want you to think about and picture something running out of steam. It's almost done or over. It's like running up a hill. You start at the bottom of the hill and you're just running full blast up that hill. And you're making, distance. You're going up that hill. You take a little breather and a break and you're going up a little bit further, right? So you're making progress. You're going further up this hill, but you're continually losing steam. You're continually losing strength and energy and momentum the higher you go, right? Until eventually you're going to burn out. And so that's what we're looking for, is a burnout. And we're looking for that burnout to happen on a steep hill, meaning an uptrend, or a steep decline, a downtrend. We're not looking for just a flat winding path. Again, we're not looking for range-bound markets or choppy markets, okay? We're looking for that exhaustion running up or down. Let's go through a couple of pictures here. Some of this may seem elementary, but if you get this idea in your head, it's going to help you be able to spot things and understand what is and what isn't. Clearly here, imagine yourself running up a hill. You're running up. There's an incline. It's going up. These guys are running up this hill. They're getting further and further up this hill. At some point, they're going to lose strength, right? They're going to lose momentum and energy. But they are going upwards, right? They're heading up a hill. They're running up a hill. These guys are sprinting up the hill. They can't do this forever, can they? None of us can, right? There's clearly energy and effort going into this, and that effort will diminish and diminish over time. even if they're getting higher and higher up the hill, they're going to run out of steam. Okay? Everybody understand that? No matter how fit you are, no matter how strong you are, you're struggling to go up, 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 but you only can keep up a certain momentum for so long until you just lose it, right? You run out of steam and you're done. From a time-based standpoint, who's likelier to get tired out quicker? Those three pictures we just looked at a minute ago of struggling up an incline, or these guys right here just walking a flat, cool hiking path. These guys can go forever, right? They can go a long time. They can keep going and going, right? They're not struggling, they're not running, they're not going uphill, they're not using near as much energy. Okay, they're just taking a little afternoon hiking stroll on a flat, winding path. They can stop, have a little drink of water. They can go all day and bird watch and do everything, right? Those guys running up that hill, they can't do that, can they? So you kind of get that quick little difference of analogy there versus a trend, whether it be up or down, versus a winding, ranging, choppy, flat area. We're not looking for this when it comes to divergence. We're not looking to see when these guys run out of steam, right? Because we don't want that winding, flat, choppy range area, right? So we don't care about these guys right here in the context of divergence or hidden divergence, or even here. Okay, this isn't a straight flat walk trail, it's winding, right? But it's not an incline. Even though it's winding, it might look like this peak, quote unquote, is higher than this peak and this peak is higher than this peak. It's still just flat and winding. Make sense? Okay, that's flat. All right. Vladimir, I can't click links here in this. So you maybe send that to me in Skype. But you guys understand the difference? What we're talking about here? Y'all see just the very basic differences? Okay. And we've talked about this before, and if you've watched some of the training videos, we've talked about, especially some that are new, are like, hey, how in general do I know the market's trending? Well, does the market make a high, then it pulls back a little bit, then it goes even higher, then it pulls back a little bit, then it goes even higher? Is the market making higher highs? Is the market making lower lows? Or is it just flat across? A very basic elementary way of looking at it is thinking about a clock. If the market is just zigging up and down here, and you can draw a rectangle around it like your 9 and 3, that's a range bound or choppy market, right? The market keeps going up and pulling back, going up, pulling back, going up and pulling back, and it's going up in general between the like 1 and 2 o'clock here. It's pretty clear you're in an uptrend, right? Or if it's going down and then pulls back up and goes down and pulls up and goes down between the 4 and 5, it's a downtrend, right? Very general, very basic. Kind of like some of the pictures I just showed you there. The difference of a flat winding hiking trail versus a struggle up a mountain, a struggle up, an incline. Big difference there. This here is the 9 to 3, right? This is the flat markets. We're not looking to figure out when that's exhausted. Okay? Flat ground here. How hard is it to move this big stone across a flat ground? That could be pretty rough, right? Out there in the hot desert, moving that flat stone across that flat ground. Compared to, what if I rolled a stone down this incline here? If I rolled a stone from up here and let it roll down, which one's going to be easier? You see the difference there? Right? I know some of you are saying, what the hell are you talking about, John? Why are you showing us flat desert stones and rolling stone? What? We're getting there, okay? But you guys see the difference between these guys walking easy cheesy flat trail to what this guy or girl is doing right here. Hauling butt running up this steep incline. They might be getting higher and higher. They might be getting to the top of the mountain. They might be getting to the summit. They might be taking little breaks along the way and then they go further. But do you understand how that each time they go further, they're sweating out. They're losing strength. They're losing energy. They're losing momentum. They don't have near as much energy when they get to the peak as they had when they first started running down at the bottom. Agreed? Can everybody see that? Everybody understand that? Very basic. There's not near as much energy up there. What about this guy here? We call this Marion's half-naked dude. Rolling this boulder up this steep, big incline, right? Starts off at the bottom, rolling up the incline, rolling up the hill, rolling up the hill. This dude's going to get tired out, isn't he? He might have started off pretty good and flexing the muscles and getting up there. And Marion says, excuse me. He might have started off pretty good. He's doing all right, getting about halfway up. Yeah, you can tell he's starting to struggle. That stone's getting heavier. But what happens when this guy is completely worn out and you see him barely making it? He can barely get a step forward. He can barely get any further up that mountain with that boulder. And then suddenly he gets to a point where he's not even going any further up that mountain. He's starting to slide back a little bit and lose footing. His arms are about only halfway out. You see him start to shake. Every muscle in his body's shaking. Right? What's going to happen? He's either going to get crushed, right? Or he needs to haul butt the other way. That makes sense? You see that? Okay. Gets up there to that point where going and pushing further and further up and just losing strength, and then it's like done. Just done. And there's a possibility that when that's just done, it's like, I'm going to sit here and just chill. I'm beat. Or it's, forget it, I'm tumbling down. I'm tumbling all the way down the mountain, right? Okay. So that's kind of the why behind divergence. Okay. So let's put that into the context of a chart. So what's behind divergence? Okay. And that's what you always should be looking for. Always think in your head about those images I just showed you, even though they were very basic, very elementary, and not that everybody besides Marion wants to always have the image in the head of the half-naked dude holding up the boulder, but always have that image in your head. As the market's going up, think about that guy holding up that boulder going up that mountain. How's he doing? Is he still making progress? Is he still pushing that huge boulder up the mountain? Or do you see him starting to get weak? Is he starting to struggle? Is his arm starting to shake a little bit? His muscles are just giving out. Think about it like that. Step outside of just the rules of, well, I'm looking for this oscillation detector number to be lower than the last number, and then I trade the other way. Okay, that's one thing. But take it past those rules and think and see past it. Understand the why behind it. Understand the reasoning behind it. Understand why we're looking for that trade. Okay? Can I see that exhaustion? Has the market gone up enough to where I see that big push up the hill, and can I see that resistance and that exhaustion coming in to the point where now there could be a tumble the other way? Does that make sense? Do you understand the difference of, well, John and Daryl in the training said that the rules were when the OD number is 80% or less than the other one. And so that's it. That's all I care about. So I took the trade. Okay, that's one thing over here on the left, right? Is just the straight up, by the book rules. The oscillation detector number has to be lower than the last number. Okay. Step away from that and go, why? What's the point of it? Why is this rule, or why is this trade even there? And when you start to think about it in that sense of, because we're going up, 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 up that hill, and I'm seeing this exhaustion, I'm seeing the muscles start to just give in, and that could be a huge tumble all the way down the mountain. That's the why behind it. Do you understand the difference there? Because there might be a time where it's like, well, technically this market went up, and technically this OD number was less than the other, so I'm just going to take the trade. But I in no way got that feeling of this big run up a mountain, all this big effort put up in there, seeing that Marion's dude pushing up a boulder and really just losing energy and really losing strength and really gone up enough to just set up for this tumble down. You see the difference there? Oh, well, it went higher and it was lower, so I mean, that's what John and Daryl said to do. I'll take the trade. Compared to, no, this is slapping me in the face. I see this. I see this ready to pop. You know, well, it was really not that much of a trend. It was more like a winding path. It wasn't necessarily a big run up a hill or mountain, but the OD number was less, so I took it. Think beyond the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s and understand the why. Okay? If you're not sure, well, I'm not sure if this is divergence. I'm not sure if the market has really actually gone up in a trend. I'm not sure if the market's really acted like it's going up this hill. I'm not sure right now that I can't can I picture in my mind, can I see it by the numbers, that dude about to lose hold of that? If it's not slapping you in the face, clear as day, what should you do? If in doubt, stay out. Right? That makes sense? It shouldn't be a question. It should smack you in the face, should be super clear that it's there. If you're having to ask and you're not sure, 90% of the time that means no. So always in the back of your mind, picture that guy up in the mountain. Okay? Like, if we just stopped right there, for any of you that are new, would that clear up a lot for you about divergence? Like what it's all about? Of a pushing market, whether that's up or down, going further, like the market is going further, but as it's going further, it's losing steam and losing steam and losing steam. And then at some point, there's no steam left. Okay? So does that help already? Just keeping that in mind? Okay. Marion's upset. She's like, great. Now everyone's going to ask me about divergence because officially that's my dude. That's your dude. Okay. So what is standard divergence? Now that we've got that concept and those analogies and those images stuck in your head of Marion's dude, let's get to the chart side of it. An easy definition of divergence. Okay. Jeff. An easy definition of divergence is when an asset, the price, is moving in the opposite direction of momentum. Okay? That can show potential exhaustion, a pause, retrace, right? It's like a marathon or an uphill run and they're just running out of steam every time there's a new burst. You might be making progress, you might be getting further along, but losing steam. Okay? So what that means in a uptrend market is that the market is making higher highs, but it's making those higher highs on lower volume, lower momentum, lower strength. Or in a downtrend, it's making lower lows on less momentum. Okay? At times you can see double or triple divergence. The market does not always reverse just because there's divergence. Just because there's divergence doesn't mean it's going to fly the other way 500 points. Okay? It's not a standalone trade. You need to combine it with other edges. Obviously with your sniper trades, you know, when they happen up against levels or stacks or walls. Obviously, stacking those odds in your favor is great. Okay? So let's look at this just very basically. This chart right here, if we put the clock over this chart, is the market operating between 9 and 3 flat straight across, or is this more going up between the 1 and 2? It's an uptrend. Okay? For those of you that are brand new, what do I mean when I say a higher high? Well, look down in here. The market came up, then it pulled back. So if I'm looking at this chart live right here, what is the most recent high? Well, this is the most recent high of the market, right? Then the market comes up, and then it pulls back again. So it right here made another high. This high is higher than this high, correct? So the market made a higher high. And then it came up, made another higher high, and another higher high, and another higher high, and another higher high. That's what I mean by a higher high. You see that? That's an uptrend. Market goes up, pulls down, comes up, pulls down, comes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, working its way up. That's an uptrend. You've got higher highs, and then every time the market makes a pullback, and then a pullback, it pulls back and makes this low. But then up here when it makes a low, what? This low is higher than this low. And this low is higher than this one. And this low is higher than this one. This low is higher than... Does that make sense, everybody? You understand higher highs and higher lows. That's an uptrend. Okay? Now, the oscillation detector. That's these numbers right here. See it? This is on all your sniper charts. 321, 823, 817. You see it? That measures this push, this wave, this leg. It's measuring the strength and the volume and the momentum in each one of these legs up. Okay? Makes sense? So for example, this move up right here was 321. This big one right here, 823. That's a big build, right? This next push even higher, 817. Next push even higher was almost double that, or a lot more than that, right? 1780. Then it went even higher, and it went from 1780 to like 1658. That was a little bit less, right? Lost a little bit of steam, but not much. But you see that? Then it pulls back and goes even higher, and look at that huge drop off. So here it went further, but only on 694. I mean, look at 694 compared to 1658. That's a big drop off, right? And the indicator will show you this push up was only 42% of the last push up, half. Okay, so do you see that? Now can you see this and equate it to the analogies, okay, that we just talked about, of running up a hill, a marathon up a hill, a push up a hill, pushing a boulder up the hill. Got up here, you know, hey, I was making some progress here. You know, only 300, and then I got 800, then 800, and man, I had a big push of energy right here. All the momentum kicked in. And I went higher, and I slacked off a little bit. And then I pushed high. Man, I only got 50% left. I'm about done. Do you see it? For those of you that are new, this concept of divergence. It's going up It's getting higher up that mountain, but losing steam. Okay? Any questions on that? Does everybody understand that? Okay? And we teach in the training that we're looking for at least 80%, meaning right here, this move was 1780. This went higher and it was only 1658. So technically, that is divergence, right? Because it went higher on less. But this was still almost 93% of the same energy. Does 93% of the same energy? Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Everybody get that? This is technically divergence, right? Because it went further on less. This number is less than this number. Everybody with me there, right? From a technical standpoint, it's divergence. And I know we have some technical people that say, well, I took that trade, and hey, maybe it worked, maybe it doesn't, but because it was technically divergence. But it's almost the same amount of energy. Picture Marion's guy and the big boulder. Do you see that bold? Do you see him really losing strength? Do you see him losing footing right here? Do you see his muscles starting to shake and he's going to drop that boulder? Or do you see he just went up quite a bit further on just about the same amount of energy? You don't see a struggle right there, do you? You don't see a big loss of energy. You don't see anything right here that tells you this could all collapse and tumble, right? But here, when it goes up and it goes even further and it drops in half, or actually down to 42%, that's a big thing to see, isn't it? Oh, that boulder is getting shaky. That boulder is getting real shaky now. Do you see the difference there? Get out of your technical mind. Get out of your technical, well, it was 7% less. So technically that's higher on less energy. I don't care about the technicality, right? I want to see that damn boulder about to tumble. Make sense? But do you see the screaming difference of the loss of energy here to here? That's what I want to see, is a screaming loss of energy. So again, move past the technicalities, move past the basic rules. See that boulder starting to get shaky. Does that make sense? Jeff said, can you recommend how wide to make the chart, as in how much time or bars would have really helped me to see the trends? You mean your overall chart in general, Jeff? Yeah, I mean, if on my chart, all I see is the market zooming up and up and up, yeah, I want to shrink it in and see that whole trend. I want to see where did it start, what's happened in the past trends, like, you know, what has been the strength drop off. You know, also, I'm not necessarily looking for, I mean, divergence is divergence, but so look here. When it came up here at 42%, then it came down. Right here, it looks like this peak went maybe a tick or something higher, right? It did go slightly higher. Everybody see that? And yeah, that dropped off even more, showing a lot of exhaustion, right? But that's really close together, like what we call a double top. I really like to see a clear, like bars length. Like if I'm using a 10 tick chart, I want to see 10 ticks. Like I like to see it really went a little bit really went further, actually went further, right? And then try to just a little bit further and just done. Okay, so let's take a peek here. So that's an example of a long trade. Here's a short trade. Market's coming down, came down here on 975, right? Then it came down even further And this wave was how much? 2350. Is that divergence? First push was 975. Second push went even further at 2350. No, that's not divergence. That's actually convergence, right? That converges because that makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense that if something goes this far down on around 1,000, that it's going to go boom even further on twice the volume, right? It's gaining momentum. It's pushing further, right? That makes sense. But then this last push down has a decent drop off, doesn't it? Right? Pushed down here on 2350, but then it pushed even further, but only like 1750. You see that difference in strength, right? You see a little bit of that drop off there, don't you? Yeah? Then with, and I'm not saying this is the perfect trade setup, but then we got a reversal bar with a TX and a paw, right? But that's just a quick example there of a downtrend. So a lot of the things I was showing you was an uptrend. It's the same exact concept in a downtrend, okay? But I want everybody to stop for a minute because here's the biggest thing I see. Stop just looking at the DR indicator and saying, oh, there's divergence because it's a lower number. I see that happen all the time. I see it happen almost any day that I'm in the trade room. And I see it happen pretty much every webinar where Daryl does a walkthrough. Okay? Like just about every time. Let's just pull up a chart here. Let's get rid of that. So, okay. So what do we have right here? The market pushes up. I don't have the big Harry Potter wand. So you guys prefer this crosshair or the arrow? I'm not getting the wand. I'm not doing it. So market pushes up, then it goes up higher, and then it goes up higher, and then it goes up higher, and then it goes up here. Okay? So what would, look at this. When it pushed up here, 8,600. Nice. Then it went up further, 10,000. Then when it went up further, it's down to 7,700. Do you see that drop off there? Like this last push had even less than this one down here, only about 71%. Okay, does everybody see that? Is that divergence at the top there? Yes, it is. That's divergence, right? Okay. So, and again, the indicator off to the right will show us their percentage, meaning this move was only 71% of the last move. So again, we want it to be 80 or less, right? But then what I see people say all the time is, oh, the next number is only 8%. So this push was only 624 compared to this last one that was like 7,700. Oh, we got divergence. Because, right, anytime the OD, the oscillation detector, anytime that number is lower than the last one, or the percentage is under 80, it's divergence. Is that divergence right there? In any way, shape, or form, divergence. Actual divergence. No, it's not. Why? Because divergent, okay, because look, this little push up, these 3 bars, what does that, how does that situation, the market went up, it went up, it went up, it went up, came way down, and then made a few bars up. How does this situation fit at all into our run up the mountain? How does this fit at all and to the guy pushing the boulder up the hill. It doesn't. We're not concerned about this anymore. We're only looking for going further up the hill, further up the hill, further up the hill, further up the hill, lose strength and crumble. This push up has nothing to do with this divergence anymore. We have to have higher highs. Yeah, it's not the same trend, Mark. Exactly. It has nothing to do with it. This is a completely reset of something else. We already had our divergence up here. The only way we'd be looking for another divergence is if the market did what? Made it an even higher high. So stop just looking, because I see so many people do this, and it's normal, right? Especially when you're new and it's a lot to learn, okay? Stop just looking at these numbers. So many people do that. All they're doing is looking at one number to the next number to the next number, and was this one showing lower? It's not about does it show lower. It's about the structure of the market. Is it showing lower as it's going further? You understand that? So get it out of your head that you're just looking for smaller numbers. Okay? You're looking for that market structure. All right, does that make sense? Any questions on that? Now, in here, everybody see this right in here? Am I looking for hidden divergence anywhere in there? In this region right in here? No, that's chop. Is the market making higher highs? Is it making lower lows? And not just, well, this was high, well, maybe this was lower than that. No, come on. Do you see the difference? That's all, yeah, that's just nothing but ick. What is the clock saying when I put the clock over that right there? That's 9 and 3, right? That's 9 and 3. I'm not looking for divergence there. There's no divergence there to look for. Now, what about here? Comes up, pulls down, comes up, pulls down, comes up, pulls down, comes up. Can I see, is that 9 and 3? Or can I see that going about 130 and there's a trend that is making some higher highs? So now I'd be looking for that, right? Okay. Now, little question. Market comes up, makes this, little elevator down. Market comes up on what? 40.40, right? And then what does this next number say? 1078, only 27%. So this push up here was only 27% of this last push. That's a big drop off right there. Is that divergence? Is that divergence right there, that big drop off? Okay. Did the guy with the boulder go higher on less volume? Did it? No, it did not. Again, you cannot just look at the drop in volume. You see that? This push up here was 40.40. The next number is only 1078. It's only 27%, like a 73% drop off. Oh man, look at those two numbers. That's a big drop off. Was it though? I mean, it didn't even come, it didn't even go as high right there. Yeah, I mean, that's close to a double top, but it didn't even go as high as this peak. For divergence, what do we want? We want it to go higher. Remember, it's about the market going further on less, not less on less, not the same on less. We want it to go further on less. Does that make sense? I see that. This is a scenario right here that I see a lot because it's so close, it's so simple. Now, yeah, I mean, it did make a pullback of a few bar. You would have got your 10 tick scalp. Great. But that doesn't mean that happened every time, right? Okay. It has to go further. Okay. Jeff said, some of the sniper videos address being close to the same level of the higher high. Does that still apply? I think that might be some old videos, Jeff. I'd have to check that. But for it to be divergent, it has to go higher. The basic definition of divergence in and of itself is going further on less. This isn't going less on less. That makes sense. That's convergence. Everybody understand that? But it's got to go further on less. What does the next move do up here? 38.58. This is 358% more volume than back here. That's a lot of strength, isn't it? And then what happens? Does the market go further? Does it go further up the hill? Does price go further? And then what happens to the volume there? Now the volume drops from almost 4,000 down to 1,500. This last push is only 39% of the same strength and volume. Makes sense? Do you see the difference there? How this was a big drop off in a number, but it didn't even reach as high as back here. That's less on less. This one went further on less. Can you kind of picture here in this move the boulder guy getting tired? Can you picture a runner running up this mountain and losing steam right here? Does that kind of jump in your face there? Clearly went higher, and not just a tick or two higher. It went higher, but just lost it all right there. See it? Did that happen? He lost the boulder here a little bit. Did the boulder tumble enough for you to get your 10 tick sniper scalp? Yeah. Right? And you can see it there. Make sense? So then what does the next OD number say? Oh, we went from 1518 to only 1043. So this number shows only 69% of the same volume. That's a drop off in OD, right? Is that divergence? Because the OD number is lower, there was a drop off. Is that divergence? No. Why? Because it didn't go further. It's a lower top. A lower top that has less volume makes sense. That's convergence, right? Makes sense? Everybody understand this? Are you seeing it? It's not divergence unless it's going further up the hill and losing steam, and they're going to lose the boulder, and the boulder is going to roll down, and I want to enter a trade to roll down with that dang boulder. Yeah? Okay. So, again, I know it felt very basic, maybe boring, and even elementary going through those pictures and going through those analogies of pushing that boulder up that hill, or of people running up that hill, but it keeps you out of trouble. Because when you have a situation like this and you're thinking about that, it's like, it didn't even go further up the hill. Here, oh, it went further up the hill and lost out. Oh, look. The oscillation detector, the OD number was much lower than over here. It must be divergent. No, that guy didn't go up further and lose the boulder. He already lost it back here. That's not divergence. Right, I remember now. It's got to go further up the mountain. Got to go further up the hill. Remember these little, what seems elementary, stupid analogies. They'll keep you out of trouble. Okay? Does that make sense? Let's see here. Somebody, John, would you explain the why as it relates to taking or not taking HD before or after ODD? Yeah, Mark, I can actually address that probably next week because, to do OD and HDD in the same webinar is just too much. You guys agree? I mean, we're almost an hour in here. You know what I mean? And Daryl was like, "Hey, do you want to do OD and HD tonight?" I'm like, "No, I'll just do one at a time. It's too much." So yeah, we can try to address that, Mark. Probably next week when we do HD. Okay, remind me of that. I'll make a note, but also remind me. So guys, does this help to understand divergence and what we're looking for? And also, do you understand again right here? If I draw a square right here. Okay, here's another thing I see. This is big, big, big. Watch this, because, and I repeat myself a lot. You all know that. But I do it for a reason. Do you remember earlier when I was talking about the difference of knowing the rule versus the why? I don't care just that simply this OD was less than this OD. I want to, in my head, see that guy about to lose that damn boulder, right? I want to take that trade because it makes sense and I see it structurally in the market that a boulder is going to tumble and I want to tumble with it. I don't want to take a trade just because a technicality number was lower than a number. That's not an edge. You understand? Here's another thing I see, and usually this is people being technical or they just don't fully have a grasp on divergence yet. Okay? So look at this. Everybody see this number right here. Do you see the height? Everybody see this wick right here? I'm holding my crosshair on it. Everybody see the height of it, right? Now, look at the wick right here where the OD number is 639. Is this wick taller than that last wick? Did the market go a little bit further, a tick or two? Yes or no? Yes, it did. Right? Okay. So now I've got my crosshair there. Now let's look over here. Did the market go a few ticks higher than that last wick there? Yes, it did. None of us can argue that, can we? Right? So the market came up here and made a high. Then right. Okay, now I'm going to flip over. So here it made a high, made a one or two tick higher high, and then a few ticks higher high. None of us can argue that, can we? The market did make two higher highs. So the technical person wants to say what? Well, the market went higher, and then it went higher again. And John, you told me on that webinar, I heard John say the words higher highs. Okay? See where I'm going with this? Someone being quote unquote technical because by a few ticks it was a higher high, and then a few ticks it was a higher high. Is this, first of all, let's drop back down to elementary. If I put a clock over this, what time is it? Where's all this action happening? Between 9 and 3. It's not happening at 1 and 2. But a high, a technical little higher high, technical few ticks higher and high, you're getting technical. Is there any sense in any way, shape, or form looking at that right there? Okay. Like this is something I see a lot of. So I want to address this. Does that look like this in any way, shape, or form? That market we just looked at, that barely little bit higher high, does that look at all like that, struggling up that hill? Does it look at all like this of these people winded running up that hill? Does it look at all like this of struggling to get higher and higher and higher? Or does it look like that? Well, it looks like when the path winded out here, it winded a little further out into the grass than this one did. And maybe that little wind out into the grass was a little bit more than this one. Okay, if you're already having to maybe and it looks like and turn your head and twist your head, what's the answer? No. The answer is just straight up no. It's nothing like this. It's nothing like this, right? I mean, do you see that? Because we see that all the time. Well, technically, this was higher than the guys. Spot that difference. That makes sense? Yeah, this is winding around, and maybe this wind winded out a little more than this wind, and this wind winded out a little more than this wind. But are any of these winds? Are any of these winds in here that barely go up, are any of those winds setting up a potential? Do they look anything like that to set up a potential for that? Or for that? Okay, so do you see again where these stupid little pictures of Johns can keep you out of trouble if you think back to them, if you keep them in your head for when you're trying to watch for and understand divergence? Don't get technical of it was technically a higher high in the market and technically OD was lower. That means nothing. Just because it's a rule that Daryl taught and a rule that I taught, it means nothing. What is the point behind it? The point is hauling butt, losing steam to the peak of that mountain, about to get crushed by this boulder, lose it all, let it tumble, and I want to tumble with it and just grab my scalp. Big difference from winding hikers. Okay? Makes sense? Does that help at all? For any of you that were unclear about divergence or not quite sure or still trying to get a handle on it, or man, sometimes I get confused. Now, some of you might say, hey, that really helped me with divergence, but I'm still as confused as crap on this hidden divergence HD thing. Okay, join us next week. Okay, but sometimes it just helps to be reminded of these things because, for one, some people are new, just don't have a, complete understanding of it, right? For two, sometimes we forget these things. But for three, and I think this happens the most, oh, the markets have been crazy and NQ has been so fast and I had to step out and I got a phone call and I haven't got a trade yet this morning. So I want to start, exactly, Christopher. I'm going to make up a trade. I need a trade. I want a trade. I've missed a trade. I lost a trade. I'm behind a trade. I'm looking to find a trade. I'm looking for a reason to make this into a trade. And it was a higher high. and it went higher on less, and they talk about that being the technical definition. So I'm going to technically take a trade. Raise your hand if you're guilty of that. And I know damn well you're lying if you don't raise your hand. We've all done it. I've done it. We all suffer for that, right? So, like I said, it's not all just about, well, I didn't understand it, I didn't forget it. Even for those of us that know it, we're looking for a reason to take a trade. And this type of scenario here should not be the reason we take a trade. If we're going to take a divergence trade, does this one right here, and I don't have OP turned on, but we go up, 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 down 39%. Does that slap you in the face as divergence? Almost 4,000 down to 1,500. That's the divergence trade you want to take if it's a valid setup. That one slaps you in the face. That one's not made up. I'm looking, I'm pushing, I'm pressing. Divergence, again, you're trying to find a winding road here. You're trying to find that maybe maybe these guys are walking a little up a hill right here. It should smack you in the damn face like this and this. And if it doesn't, then you're probably not going to get this. Okay? Yeah, Jeff, hit me up on Skype. Okay? Are we on Skype, Jeff? I believe we are, right? There you go. Hit me up. I can get that answered for you. Okay? So there we go. All right. So, guys, I appreciate it. I know we've gone on here. Listen, if this was helpful to you, it'll be helpful to others. I appreciate your time being on here. Make sure to join us next week. We'll try to go over hidden divergence, and I'll try to break it down for you kind of the same way here, because that's the other thing that happens is you think you got it. Oh, I got it down now, but then you're like, crap. What was the hidden divergence? Wait, was that hidden or was that crap? Now I just confused the rules, right? And your head's a mush. I want to try to help with that. So next week we'll dive into hidden. If this helped you, if it gave you clarity, I would appreciate you putting some kudos out there, encouraging other people that couldn't be on to watch the webinar. I know some people took off and changed some schedule around to be on the webinar earlier this morning, weren't able to be on the night. So would appreciate it if you'd just put a good word out there on Facebook and in your Skype rooms. And tomorrow morning, the Elite Room, encouraging others to check it out as well. Once again, if you did miss the webinar this morning, you're going to want to see it. It's a special tool that allows you to hear the heartbeat and movement of the market. You're going to want to see this webinar. It was truly fantastic. Go to the Apex Sniper Bootcamp page, and you can scroll down. It's also on our YouTube channel. It was posted on Facebook, but if you scroll all the way down here, you will see it under right here, Tick Strike Market Reading Tool. You definitely want to check that out. It's good stuff. So, and if you missed most of tonight, okay, if you scroll down a little further on the page, section 8 is webinars. Okay, Austin, if you click that there, by tomorrow morning, the recording should be up there. You can scroll down to the bottom. You go to that page, scroll down to the bottom. You'll see tonight's webinar recording there. You can pop on and check it out. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Put some good words for me out in Skype, Facebook, the Elite Room tomorrow. We'll see you in the room in the morning. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.